What if I told you that money does not respond to effort, struggle, or even intelligence, but to something far more subtle and far more powerful? People stand in long lines clutching lottery tickets, believing chance will choose them. Yet few realize that chance is not the law that governs wealth. There is a higher law, a law that has quietly selected winners long before the numbers are drawn. The ticket is not the deciding factor. The stay of consciousness is, and when this law is understood and applied, money arrives through channels so natural and so precise that it looks like luck to the untrained eye. Most people believe that wealth responds to desire. They think the stronger the want, the closer the result. But desire alone is unstable. It carries doubt within it. Wanting implies absence, and absence is a message sent into life that something is missing. When the mind stays in wanting, it keeps affirming that the thing is not here yet. Knowing is different. Knowing is calm. Knowing is settled. Knowing does not chase or beg or calculate odds. It rests in the assumption that the supply already exists and that it already belongs. This inner certainty is what shifts the invisible forces into motion. Life responds not to emotional intensity but to mental conviction. When a person knows something is theirs, their thoughts soften, their behavior relaxes, and their nervous urgency dissolves. That inner stillness is not passive. It is powerful. It signals alignment rather than struggle. When someone stands in a state of knowing, they stop arguing with reality. They stop checking signs every minute and stop asking whether it will work. The inner dialogue changes from will this happen to how naturally it unfolds. This shift alone removes resistance. Resistance is not created by doubt alone, but by mental noise. Constant thinking about outcomes, methods, and timing creates friction. Knowing clears the path by simplifying the inner atmosphere. It is the difference between gripping something tightly and opening the hand. Life flows more easily through openness. People who experience sudden financial breakthroughs often describe a moment when they stopped worrying about money altogether. That moment is not coincidence. It is alignment. Knowing does not mean forcing belief or pretending. It means accepting a principle. Just as one knows the sun will rise without emotional effort, knowing abundance works the same way. Once the law is accepted, the mind stops interfering. The subconscious then begins to act in harmony with that assumption. Opportunities are noticed that were previously invisible. Decisions become clearer. Intuition sharpens. Actions align without strain. This is why knowing attracts while wanting repels. Wanting keeps the mind split between hope and fear. Knowing unifies the mind around expectation. The calm confidence of knowing also changes how one speaks. Words lose desperation. They become statements rather than wishes. Even silence becomes expressive. The body language shifts. The energy changes. Others sense this change and respond differently. Money, opportunities, and favorable outcomes often arrive through people, conversations, or timing that cannot be traced logically. To the outside observer, it looks like luck. Internally, it feels inevitable. That feeling of inevitability is the hallmark of knowing. The same law applies even more deeply when it comes to identity. Money does not move toward people who see themselves as temporary visitors in abundance. It moves toward those who see abundance as their natural environment. Identity is the lens through which all experiences are filtered. If someone secretly believes that wealth belongs to others, no technique can override that belief for long. Even if money arrives, it often leaves just as quickly. Identity governs what feels allowed. When wealth does not feel allowed, the mind unconsciously sabotages its own success through fear, guilt, or careless decisions. Seeing yourself as someone through whom abundance flows is not arrogance. It is alignment with a principle. Rivers do not apologize for flowing. Trees do not question whether they deserve sunlight. When a person adopts an identity rooted in sufficiency rather than lack, their relationship with money changes immediately. They no longer cling. They no longer fear spending or receiving. Giving becomes natural because they trust replenishment. Receiving becomes easy because they do not feel unworthy. This balance keeps the flow moving. Identity is reinforced through repetition of thought and experience. Each time a person thinks of themselves as fortunate, capable, or provided for, that image strengthens. The subconscious mind accepts repetition as truth. Over time, this identity becomes automatic. Choices begin to reflect it. Risk is evaluated differently. Opportunities are approached with confidence instead of suspicion. The outer world mirrors this internal shift. Employers value them more, clients trust them more. Ideas come more freely. This is not magic. It is psychological alignment with a spiritual law. When someone identifies as a channel rather than a container, fear decreases. Containers worry about emptiness. Channels trust flow. This mindset removes the panic that blocks abundance. It also dissolves competition. When you see yourself as a channel, you understand that supply is not limited. Someone else winning does not threaten you. This relaxed attitude removes jealousy and comparison, both of which silently block prosperity. Peaceful confidence is far more attractive to opportunity than ambition fueled by insecurity. Identity also determines patience. A person who knows who they are does not rush outcomes. They allow timing to cooperate. They do not feel delayed by waiting because they trust process. This patience is misunderstood by others as passivity, but it is actually discipline. It takes strength to remain calm while life rearranges itself. Most people interfere too soon. They abandon the assumption before it has time to materialize. Those who stay aligned allow results to mature naturally. As identity shifts, money becomes a byproduct rather than a goal. The focus moves inward, and the outer adjusts accordingly. When abundance is internalized as part of self-concept, it stops being something to chase and becomes something to expect. Expectation is quiet. It does not announce itself, yet it shapes outcomes with remarkable consistency. Life reflects back the image held within, and when that image is one of flow, stability, and sufficiency, the reflection cannot be anything else. Words are far more powerful than most people realize. Every word spoken carries vibration and intent, even when the speaker is unaware. Casual language, repeated complaints, or idle thoughts may seem harmless, yet they create subtle impressions in the mind and in life. When words are spoken with conviction and clarity, they act as commands to the invisible forces that shape reality. This is not metaphorical. Thoughts become words become beliefs, and beliefs become the patterns through which life operates. If someone constantly says, "I cannot," "I am broke," or "it is impossible," they are reinforcing the very obstacles they wish to overcome. Conversely, deliberate words aligned with certainty and faith activate potential and open channels for opportunity. The person who learns to speak affirmations, not as wishes, but as statements of fact, signal to life that resistance is unnecessary and that provision is already at hand. The way words are spoken matters as much as the words themselves. Tone, intention, and emotional charge all contribute to the effectiveness of spoken commands. Calm, steady, confident speech carries authority to the subconscious mind and to the unseen intelligence that governs supply. Excitement without focus dissipates energy. Repetition without belief hardens into ritual rather than creating manifestation. Words that combine clarity, emotion, and expectation form a unique alignment that cannot be ignored. These words begin to influence behavior, decisions, and perceptions without conscious effort. A person becomes attuned to opportunities that were invisible before because the mind has been instructed to notice and act. In this sense, words are not merely descriptive, they are formative. They shape identity, perception, and reality simultaneously. Every form of supply must flow through a channel. But the channel is not determined by the individual in isolation. Life has intelligence that orchestrates how, when, and through whom provision will arrive. Those who obsess over the form limit the flow. Fixation on a lottery ticket, a specific person, or a rigid plan narrows perception and blocks natural circulation. The unseen laws operate with perfect discretion. They bring the right resources, the right people, and the right timing to those who have released control while maintaining expectation. When someone understands that supply moves through channels and that these channels are chosen by intelligence beyond human reasoning, they gain freedom. Freedom from stress, fear, and the false belief that effort alone can coerce outcomes. They trust that the correct path will be revealed, and they remain alert and receptive instead of anxious or manipulative. Understanding the channel principle also transforms patience into strategic alignment. Impatience is a signal of doubt and misalignment. Those who fixate on forcing results create friction. They interfere with the natural orchestration of events. By contrast, those who recognize the channel allow life to arrange itself. They prepare for reception rather than chase the means. Opportunities appear in forms that may surprise the observer. The ticket they never considered, the call at the perfect moment, the encounter that seems accidental but is anything but. Such people develop discernment, knowing which channels to pursue and which to release. Life begins to unfold in a way that appears effortless because the individual no longer resists or competes with intelligence far greater than human calculation. When words are combined with understanding of channels, the power multiplies. Speaking affirmations without attachment to a particular method ensures that energy flows freely. Expectation is maintained, yet the mind is not trapped in a narrow box. The universe responds with creative solutions, often exceeding imagination. This is why miracles appear sudden. They were never truly sudden. They were always in motion, orchestrated through channels prepared long before conscious awareness. Speaking with clarity, intention, and detachment aligns the self with these forces. Every declaration becomes a signal, every thought a coordinate for the unfolding of provision. The person who masters both the spoken word and the channel principle moves from uncertainty into authority, from waiting into knowing, and from struggle into ease. Fear and doubt are the primary obstacles to activating this principle. Words spoken in fear create closed doors and hidden blockages. They reinforce scarcity and limitation. Conversely, words rooted in faith and calm expectation open doors that logic alone cannot. The combination of deliberate speech and awareness of natural channels creates a resonance with abundance itself. The individual learns to release attachment to timing, methods, and form, trusting instead in orchestration that transcends personal control. This is the practical application of wisdom that has been known for centuries but overlooked by most, because it requires discipline, awareness, and consistency rather than mere hope or wishful thinking. Patience, persistence, and clarity form the foundation for leveraging the power of words and channels together. Each day becomes an opportunity to affirm alignment, to speak with authority, and to recognize the subtle guidance that appears in life. By observing results without anxiety and maintaining expectation without obsession, the mind is trained to operate in harmony with intelligence beyond human calculation. The flow of provision is no longer a question of luck or chance. It is a question of alignment. The individual begins to recognize signs and synchronizations that once seemed coincidental. This creates a growing confidence, reinforcing the belief that supply is inevitable and that the channels are trustworthy. Through disciplined awareness, speech, and understanding of flow, the outer world gradually transforms, reflecting the inner certainty, readiness, and trust. Delays in receiving what is desired are often misunderstood as failures or denials. Most people react to delay with frustration, anxiety, or a sense of urgency, believing that time works against them. Yet, in truth, delays are not denials. They are recalibrations, adjustments, and preparations orchestrated by a higher intelligence that sees far beyond the human perspective. Life has a timing that is precise, even if invisible to the senses. What appears late may, in fact, be perfectly arranged for maximum effect. When a person understands this, impatience transforms into strategic waiting. They no longer wrestle with circumstances, trying to force results that are not yet ready to manifest. Instead, they remain calm, alert, and receptive, knowing that the unseen intelligence is moving resources, people, and situations into alignment for the optimal outcome. This perspective shifts life from a constant struggle against time into a harmonious cooperation with process. Understanding the purpose of delays also cultivates a profound trust in the unfolding of events. Human beings tend to evaluate outcomes based on immediate evidence, but the greater design often operates through sequences that cannot be perceived until the moment of culmination. Each day of waiting is not wasted. It is a period of unseen work, a time when subtle energies are preparing the terrain for success. Those who panic, complain, or doubt during delays unknowingly introduce resistance. Resistance slows or even redirects the very supply they seek. Patience is therefore not passive. It is an active acknowledgement that every necessary component is being arranged, and that the final result will exceed what the mind can currently imagine. With this understanding, expectation remains firm, confidence remains unshaken, and the individual maintains the vibrational signal that attracts fulfillment. Faith is a crucial partner to patience. Faith is not emotional longing or wishful thinking. It is a calm, confident awareness that the outcome is already determined in the invisible. While the human mind seeks visible evidence, faith trusts the unseen arrangement. Those who cultivate faith recognize that the universe responds more reliably to inner certainty than to frantic effort. Faith allows the individual to act without compulsion, to make decisions with clarity rather than desperation, and to respond to opportunities intelligently rather than impulsively. It transforms waiting from a period of anxiety into a period of alignment. Every thought, word, and action during this time strengthens the signal of expectation rather than creating resistance. Faith becomes the mechanism through which delays are not obstacles but instruments of precision. Release of attachment to form is another essential aspect of working with divine timing and patience. Often, people limit themselves by envisioning only one pathway to their goal. They may desire a particular method, a specific ticket, or a fixed plan, believing that the form defines the outcome. Yet the universe does not operate according to human imagination alone. It provides results in ways that often exceed the limitations of thought. By releasing attachment to a particular form, the individual opens themselves to greater possibilities. What begins as a desire for a specific outcome may unfold as a blessing far richer than originally conceived. Detachment does not imply indifference, it implies trust. It allows the intelligence of life to orchestrate results in the most effective, abundant, and harmonious manner. When faith is combined with detachment, action becomes effortless and precise. The individual is no longer burdened by fear, doubt, or excessive planning. Decisions flow naturally, opportunities are seized with discernment, and obstacles are encountered with equanimity. This state of alignment amplifies the effect of spoken words, deliberate thought, and clear identity. The energy of expectation is projected consistently without interference, attracting the necessary channels and resources. It is a synergy of inner clarity, outer receptivity, and harmonious timing. Every step taken in this state is effective because it is aligned with the intelligence that governs supply. Life ceases to be a series of struggles and becomes a co-creative process, where visible results are the natural expression of inner order, faith, and trust in the unseen orchestration. Delays, patience, faith, and detachment also refine character and strengthen perception. When one resists the rush to see results, deeper wisdom emerges. The mind learns to recognize patterns, to discern subtleties, and to act in harmony rather than react impulsively. Emotional stability grows, and decisions become guided by insight rather than fear. The person begins to notice synchronizations, coincidences that are not coincidental, and guidance that was previously overlooked. These observations reinforce confidence, creating a self-perpetuating cycle of alignment. The delay is no longer a threat but a teacher, showing how timing, preparation, and subtle orchestration work in ways far beyond immediate comprehension. With each day of aligned patience, the ability to attract, recognize, and receive increase exponentially, making the eventual fulfillment not only inevitable but remarkably abundant. Faith and detachment together transform the relationship with uncertainty. Most people fear the unknown and attempt to control every variable. The individual who trusts the unseen intelligence accepts uncertainty as a space for possibility. They do not impose limits on how, when, or through whom supply arrives. This openness creates fluidity in life, allowing opportunities to enter from unexpected sources. The ability to navigate uncertainty with confidence is a hallmark of those who succeed effortlessly. They understand that every apparent delay, obstacle, or deviation is a part of the orchestration, leading to the most perfect outcome. By combining inner calm, expectation, and trust, they maintain a magnetic presence that draws abundance rather than pushing against resistance. This is the practical application of the principle that delays, faith, and detachment are not hindrances but essential instruments in the orchestration of provision. Competition is one of the most misunderstood obstacles to receiving abundance. Most people approach life with the idea that supply is limited, that someone else's success diminishes their own. This mindset creates constant tension and struggle. Fear of loss, jealousy, and comparison subtly influence thoughts, words, and actions, creating resistance that blocks the natural flow of provision. Yet the truth is that abundance is infinite, and no one can take from another what is destined for them. The universe operates on the principle of sufficiency rather than scarcity. When someone internalizes this understanding, the pressure of competition dissolves. They no longer measure their progress against others, or worry about missing out. Instead, they focus on alignment with their own path, trusting that everything meant for them will find them at the right time, through the right channels. This shift from competition to cooperation with life's intelligence removes tension, frees creativity, and invites opportunities that were previously overlooked because of anxiety and self-doubt. When competition is replaced by alignment, the mind becomes expansive rather than limited. Scarcity thinking narrows perception, creating a constant search for external validation or advantage. Alignment thinking, on the other hand, opens awareness to unseen possibilities. The individual begins to see that every circumstance, encounter, and resource has its place in the orchestration of abundance. Others' achievements no longer trigger fear or envy, but instead serve as confirmation of the universal principle that supply is infinite. This understanding cultivates a sense of security and confidence that is independent of external circumstances. The person becomes magnetically attractive to opportunity, not because of comparison or rivalry, but because their inner state resonates with assurance, sufficiency, and readiness. This resonance aligns the person with pathways, relationships, and situations that deliver results effortlessly. Competition is revealed as unnecessary, even counterproductive, in the pursuit of true prosperity. The principle of timing is closely connected to understanding delays and orchestration. Life unfolds in a rhythm that is often invisible to human perception. Most people attempt to impose their own timing on outcomes, rushing or forcing events before conditions are properly aligned. This impatience creates friction, mistakes, and missed opportunities. Those who understand divine timing recognize that life has a natural order, and that every event, person, and resource arrives in its appointed moment. Patience does not mean inactivity. It means active readiness, a state of vigilance coupled with trust. The individual takes the steps within their control while leaving the sequence, timing, and orchestration of outcomes to intelligence that operates beyond human comprehension. This perspective transforms waiting from a source of anxiety into a space of opportunity, preparation, and insight. Each moment of perceived delay becomes a chance to refine clarity, strengthen identity, and deepen trust. Trust in divine timing also nurtures emotional equilibrium. When one understands that timing is perfect, emotional reactivity decreases. Fear, frustration, and desperation give way to calm expectation. This state allows clear thinking and effective decision-making rather than impulsive reactions born of impatience. The person becomes capable of navigating complex circumstances with ease, recognizing that setbacks are often accelerations in disguise and apparent delays are simply rearrangements for the optimal manifestation. Life becomes a cooperative process rather than a series of battles. The individual learns to observe signs, notice subtle cues, and respond intelligently to opportunities that arise precisely when the conditions are right. This alignment with timing amplifies the effectiveness of all actions, words, and thoughts. It ensures that every effort contributes to the intended outcome rather than dissipating energy through resistance or misalignment. The combination of understanding competition as irrelevant and trusting timing as precise also reshapes the approach to goals. Instead of focusing on scarcity, avoidance, or fear, the individual focuses on cultivation, alignment, and readiness. They recognize that abundance is a current that flows to those who prepare, believe, and remain open. Success is no longer measured by external comparison but by inner confidence, clarity, and harmony with universal laws. When someone operates from this place, they experience fewer obstacles because resistance is minimized, opportunity are maximized, and life's orchestration becomes visible through the consistent unfolding of events. Every action feels guided, every encounter meaningful, and every circumstance part of a larger, intelligent design that cannot fail to deliver what is rightly due. Living without competition and trusting perfect timing also enhances relationships and social influence. A person who is not driven by comparison or fear does not manipulate or control others. They naturally attract allies, collaborators, and mentors because their energy is calm, confident, and magnetic. Others sense stability and abundance in them, which fosters trust and cooperation. This dynamic accelerates the flow of resources, information, and opportunity, creating a network effect that further strengthens manifestation. By moving beyond competition and aligning with timing, the individual operates from a position of authority rooted in understanding rather than dominance. They participate in life's currents rather than opposing them, allowing the invisible intelligence to orchestrate outcomes that often surpass their imagination. Faith is one of the most potent forces in shaping reality. Yet it is frequently misunderstood as mere hope or blind optimism. True faith is not emotional fluctuation or wishful thinking. It is a calm, unwavering certainty that the desired outcome already exists in the invisible realm and is making its way into manifestation. This certainty acts as a signal to the universe, aligning every thought, feeling, and action with the fulfillment of the intention. When faith is active and disciplined, it becomes a dynamic force that guides behavior, influences perception, and magnetizes circumstances. The person who cultivates this form of faith does not question whether supply will arrive or fear the possibility of lack. Their inner state broadcasts readiness and expectation, creating resonance with opportunity and provision. Life responds to this state more reliably than it does to frantic effort, clever planning, or emotional pleading. Faith, in its truest form, transforms the individual into a living channel through which abundance naturally flows. Faith also operates as a stabilizing force amid uncertainty and apparent obstacles. Most people allow fear, doubt, or visible challenges to sway their expectations. They begin with hope, but revert to anxiety when conditions appear unfavorable. In contrast, the individual anchored in faith maintains calm expectation, regardless of outer appearances. They understand that circumstances are not the final arbiter of outcomes. Delay, detour, or apparent difficulty does not signal denial but simply indicates a stage in the orchestration of results. This inner steadiness allows decisions to be made with clarity rather than reaction. Opportunities are recognized and seized, rather than missed due to distraction, doubt, or impulsive fear. Faith thus functions both as a magnet and a guide, attracting what is destined while directing the individual toward actions that harmonize with its manifestation. The principle of releasing attachment to form complements and amplifies the power of faith. Most desires are initially tied to specific methods, objects, or sequence, such as a particular job, a certain investment, or a defined plan. Attachment to these forms creates rigidity, limiting the ways in which provision can appear. By releasing attachment, the individual signals trust in intelligence beyond human calculation. This openness allows results to manifest in forms that often exceed imagination, bringing blessings that surpass the original desire. The mind moves from constriction into expansiveness, ready to perceive solutions, opportunities, and pathways that were previously invisible. When faith is combined with detachment from form, the result is a state of alignment in which expectation, readiness, and receptivity converge. The invisible forces of life respond to this convergence with precision and creativity, delivering outcomes that are both abundant and timely. Releasing attachment does not mean inactivity or indifference. It means performing all necessary actions with diligence, while remaining free from anxiety about the specific outcome or method. The person acts with confidence and awareness, fully engaged in the process, yet unconcerned with forcing results. This creates a harmonious flow where effort aligns with intelligence rather than struggling against circumstance. Life's orchestration begins to work visibly through synchronization, coincidence, and timely assistance. The individual notices signs, encounters, and opportunities that previously went unrecognized because attention was narrowly focused on a single form. The result is not only the fulfillment of the original intention but often a greater provision, reflecting the unseen wisdom that operates in ways beyond human foresight. Faith and detachment together also cultivate a profound sense of inner freedom. The individual no longer lives in anxiety, comparison, or fear of scarcity. Their sense of worth and entitlement is rooted not in external conditions but in the recognition that abundance is the natural state of life, and that they are a legitimate participant in its flow. This inner freedom fosters creativity, resilience, and joy, further enhancing their ability to attract and utilize resources effectively. Life becomes less about struggle and more about co-creation, with the individual acting as a conscious participant in a system that is already perfectly ordered. The focus shifts from controlling outcomes to aligning with principles that guarantee success. The combination of faith and release of attachment also strengthens perseverance and clarity of vision. Setbacks and delays are no longer discouraging but are seen as adjustments within a larger plan. The individual continues to act, speak, and think in alignment with their intended outcome, reinforcing the signal that attracts manifestation. Each day of consistent expectation without resistance compounds the effect, making success inevitable rather than uncertain. The mind becomes a fertile ground for ideas, solutions, and opportunities that are synchronized with the intended outcome, allowing the individual to navigate complexity with ease. Life unfolds not through struggle but through alignment, with each step guided by intelligence, timing, and readiness. When the law of faith is fully understood and practiced in combination with detachment from form, abundance becomes a natural consequence rather than an occasional miracle. The individual no longer fears lack, measures against others, or clings to rigid plans. Instead, they operate from a position of certainty, calm expectation, and openness to possibility. Every word, thought, and action is coherent with the principle that supply is abundant, rightful, and arriving. The results are often unexpected in their perfection, surpassing the original desire, because the intelligence of life orchestrates outcomes with a sophistication far beyond human calculation. In this way, faith is not a passive state but an active, powerful, and creative force that transforms desire into inevitable reality. Faith and detachment together also reinforce the ability to receive. Most people unconsciously block what they desire because they fear change, responsibility, or the unknown. Faith establishes trust in the process, while detachment ensures that the individual is not limited by preconceived notions of how the outcome should appear. The combination allows them to accept abundance fully, in whatever form it arrives, without resistance. This readiness to receive multiplies opportunities and enhances the effectiveness of every aligned action. Life responds in kind, presenting pathways, channels, and synchronizations that make the fulfillment of desires not only possible, but remarkably smooth, timely, and complete.